This is what Maya looks like when you open it for the first time. It can look a bit intimidating, but once you get familiar with it, it becomes quite comfortable. This is true with most things in Maya. So let's get into the different elements. So up here, this is where we have all the tools and features in Maya. And it looks very intimidating, but don't worry about it. We really are not going to be covering even a fraction of this, because you don't have to. The vast majority of the work can be done with only a select few tools, and the rest are something you'll use once in a blue moon, and not really something you have to think about. So this bar here, this changes based on what mode you're in. So currently we're set to modeling, which is the default mode. Well, you can switch this to rigging, switch this to animation, effects, rendering. So you can see here the menu changes completely based on what's selected. We can also use the hotkey F2, F3, F4, F5, and F6 to go between these modes. So if you quickly have to go from modeling, F2, to rendering, which is F6, you can see that this changes like this. Right below it, we have the shelves. This is a really awesome feature of Maya, and it's a very visual way of getting to the tools you want. Essentially, all the things you can find in a shelf, you can also find in the menus here. So for instance, to create a polygon cube, you can also find under create polygon and cube. It's just an easier way of accessing it instead of having to go through all the menus. So for instance, if you want to make a cube, you can just click here and now you get a cube. Very nice and easy. We also have modeling tools here as well, and UV tools here. You have curves and surfaces. We have sculpting, rigging, animation, rendering, effects, Bifrost, Mesh, motion graphics, XGen, and Maya, and some more which we aren't going to be covering. And it just means you have really quick access in a more visual ways to the tools you want. Of course, we have a whole chapter on the shelves and how to customize this as well. Then here to the left, we have selection tools. By default, we have just a pure selection tool selected. This is the hotkey Q as well. You can see if you hover over it, you get a little help section here, and you can see it says select tool, and in parentheses it says Q. You can also click on more if you, and it will open up the help section as well. So if you want to select this object, you can just click on the object like so, and it will select the object. If you want to select with a lasso, you can do that as well, which is handy in certain cases. Paint select, etc. Then we have the manipulators. So if you want to move the object around, you can do that as well. If you want to rotate it, you can do that here. If you want to scale it, like so. Then down here, we have the different presets made. So now it's going to be just a full screen. Here we have a quad view, and here we have a split view, and then we have a view where we have the outliner enabled. You can also access the quad view by hitting the spacebar as well. So if you hit the spacebar, you can now see what happens. We get access to the quad view like so, which is really useful. With the outliner selected like this is where we have access to all the information in the scene. For instance, now we can see we have a cube. You can rename the cube to cube _ cube, whatever it is you want to do, you can do that here. If you want to add another cylinder, you can see that the cylinder is added here as well. And this is a really nice and easy way of organizing your entire scene. Then we have, on top of the viewport, we have some general viewport settings, such as if you want to see a wireframe, you want to see smooth shade all, we can change the render Arnold in the viewport. We can change some paneling here as well. We can make this panel here be a graph editor, for instance. So there are tons of things we can do. Now, if you've accidentally screwed up your interface like this, which I just did now, it's very easy to revert back. You see up here, we have the workspace, and it says Maya Classic with a little asterisk to it. This just means that we're currently working in the classic view, but it's been changed a little bit. So if we click here, you can see we have all sorts of workspaces. For instance, modeling standard, expert, all of the ones. But the ones we're interested in now is on the bottom, reset current workspace. So that's going to reset it back to the default. And now if we want to get the outliner, we can just click the outliner here as well. Now over here, you have some items as well called the channel box, a modeling toolkit, and attribute editor. Let's click on our object and see what happens. So now you can see we have the channel box. This just gives you really quick access to the different attributes. So like if you want to rotate this, you can very easily do that as well, like this. You can set a number, you want to rotate this 90 degrees, and you can just do that right here. Same thing for this. You want to move this up by 50 of 5 units. It will do this right away. Then we have the modeling toolkit, which is here as well, which allows us to access some general modeling tools. Now, the reason you have this in multiple places is this is a quirk you can be seeing in Maya, that sometimes you have duplicates of where things live, and they might actually do different things as well. This is because Maya is heavily plugin based, meaning that throughout years, Autodesk has acquired a lot of plugins and just thrown them into the interface and kind of integrated it. So this is an old plugin they acquired many years ago now, and they've really refined it and done all that, but it still lives in its separate little area over here. So we're going to be seeing this throughout Maya. For instance, with Arnold as well, like we mentioned, you have rendering here, and you also have rendering here as well. And this is just because they're two separate systems which kind of work together. So just be aware of that. That's one that works. Then we have the attribute editor as well. This is kind of similar to a channel box. It's just a more elaborate view. So here you can see all sorts of stuff, which you can just click on and you can see what's happening here. Now, for instance, we can change the color of the object. And the attribute editor is just a view of everything going on with the object. We'll, of course, go more in depth specifically regarding this later on. But for now, just know that this here is where you can see all the attributes connected to your model. One thing you are going to be doing as well is by accident, you are going to hit Control and Space. This is going to launch the full screen view. So you can see here, you get a little help saying that. So if this happens, just hit Control Space again. You don't have to reset the workspace for this. There's no reason to go here. Just Control Space and you get back in this view. This here is really a mode here to allow you to quickly go into more of an expert view. Down here as well, we also have the animation. Now, there's no animation currently on anything, but if there was animation, you can see that by just dragging the time slider here. You can hit the play button, which will play it, or you could change the range here as well. So real nice and easy access to animation. So this is why this is the default view, because we have everything here. Now, if you're doing modeling, you don't need the time slider or animations. Then you can switch, for instance, up here to the modeling standard. And now you can see it's very similar, just that we're now in the poly modeling here, we're in modeling, and we don't have the animation view here. So some of these are they're just a bit more specialized towards what you need to do. So UV, we have a special UV mode here as well. So we do have some specialized layouts, but in general, the default one is perfect for nearly all our needs. So in the next chapter, we will take a look at how we can navigate around the viewport.